Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
In person.
Was I not in person last time?
Well, it's been a few months.
It has been
since
a few
we've-
months. I've been locked in the pen test mine.
We have
That's
locked
actually not true. I went to San Francisco for a couple days. But other than that, I've been locked in the pen test mine.
Yeah, just
Classic Q4.
classic Q4. Actually, this Q4 was insane.
Hashtag
Um,
Q4 life. Are we trying to do that?
I think hashtags are dead now.
I think marketing told us we have to get a viral hashtag for the episode.
Shit.
Okay.
Cal, what's the ruling on that?
Cal, we have a new marketing and strategic partnerships guy. His name is Cal.
He's right over there.
Cal, he's off camera right now. He's feeding us lines.
I just need things to cut into shorts for the viral.
Oh, okay.
That's good. We're good.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Rocking the B-Sides Las Vegas shirt this month.
Yeah, that's cool.
Trying to switch it up every month. This one's B-Sides Las Vegas 13, which was 2 years ago, I believe.
Was I there? I must have been there.
Yeah.
That was at DEPCON.
Yeah.
I don't remember the theme at all. But
that
was
2 years ago. This is the one where I think you had to recite Fox and Socks.
Oh yeah, we did this. Yeah. The scavenger hunt CTF. Oh yeah, I stole a pollard from the bollard. What's the thing that holds the stanchion? Nice. Yeah. And like you had to bring it up from the gambling floor. That was fun. Hacker Summer Camp is fun. How was your Q4?
I'm still alive, so
yeah.
That was the bar.
Yeah.
Survive Q4.
True.
Yeah, nuts. It always is nuts.
You did mostly web app tests for Q4?
Yeah, pretty much just web apps.
Yeah, right. That's
web apps APIs were pretty much it. A little bit of internals and externals, but very few because.
Yeah, I remember being surprised that you told me you were on an internal. I was like, I thought that was like.
Yeah.
I thought those came to me.
Yeah.
Like you must have been.
You had your hands full.
I was booked out. What you can put me on 4 at a time.
So Q4, and I was gonna ask this question too. Why is Q4 so busy?
My understanding, Q4 has always been kind of a nightmare because like we're a very regulatory driven space. I feel like a lot of people like to focus on doing business, and then if they're not necessarily proactive enough with their security, someone looks up like halfway through the year and they're like, have we done our audit? And then people are like, no. So I always tell people the phones start ringing in the summer, and by like September we're booked out.
Yeah.
Like overbooked out. I think every week of Q4 I had like 3 engagements at least running. 1 week I did 4, I want to say.
I believe that's true.
It's a lot to juggle. But I think this Q4 was better for me than last Q4 because I did a lot of work, but I never I felt behind, but I never fell behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so it makes me feel like I actually know how to do my job. Every Q4 is stressful. But it's like, oh yeah, like I do have a handle on this. And that's always good because I feel like in like on the practitioner side, you're always learning.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always someone who's like a little more specialized than you. And so I feel like this field is one where you really know how much you don't know all the time. And so having the fire under you at the end of the year always is kind of it's stressful, but it's reassuring. And that opportunity, I again think, is mostly driven by people's lack of proactivity. Just because the first thing people want to get out of the way at the start of the year is like closing big deals, not ticking boxes for auditing. I think that's like sometimes that's like difficult as a pen tester. You start to realize that like to some people you're just a necessary evil. And I definitely did a lot of readouts this year where the client just kind of like, I start reading findings and the client just kind of glazes over, and I'm just like, any questions? After everyone, and they're like, oh no, it looks like, yeah, it's a good report, whatever, just like pass it over to us, and I think this was, I had one engagement this year that was not even that big of a pen test, like a relatively small external, and like the report that I came back with this year, I tested them last year, and the report that I came back with this quarter was all of the same findings from last year plus more. And like there were highs on the last finding.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like nothing got remediated, and like their infrastructure deteriorated further because like new vulnerabilities came up. Like and so it was just like, when you test clients like that, you're like, what are we doing? But on the other side, there are people, for every readout that I have that's like that, there's two where they're like, oh yeah, like, this is great, or like even we're already moving forward on this. I did a lot of like external pen tests specifically where I would bring up findings, and clients were like, oh well, like this isn't that big of a deal, like we can recategorize this because I had coffee this morning. They're like, we can recategorize this because like we're migrating, like we're sunsetting this host anyway. Like a lot of people are abstracting all of their infra like out to the cloud, it seems like, and just kind of like reducing. It seems like, I don't know, and I don't know if this is like a greater effort from like attack surface management services to like kind of like get out into the market, but it seems like a lot of clients this year were like consolidating their attack surface. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if that's a trend that you may have noticed on the web app side, but there's specifically on like
No, not on the web app side, but what I can say is reading over those reports and going through all that stuff that you did for the externals, looking back when I started 10, 12 years ago at externals, significantly different types of things that were exposed. So it's
really
way reduced from what we used to see. So a lot of that is the consolidation to cloud-based services, I think. Migrating everything off-prem, and then just maintaining essentially like VPN.
I did a lot of VPN tests on externals this year, like just auditing like internet key exchange endpoints. That was like, I like learned quite a bit about like how those worked this Q4, because like most of the time it was like you do an external, and it's like web apps, like UDP 500, and then like I saw a lot of SNMP, which was interesting, and that's something that like I didn't really dig into why it's exposed on the edge, because my understanding has always been that it's like not really the ideal remote management protocol to expose on the edge. But if it seems like the only thing that I can think of is that there's a lot of like third-party vendors who need to like manage a fleet of hardware that's installed on different, like at different locations, and they need to remotely manage it that way. And they're just like, if we use a unique enough username, no one's going to be able to reverse the password. Because you can do that on like SNMP v3. There's a built-in user enumeration, and then you can, if you get a valid user, you can get like a full credential pair and then log in. It's just like offline cracking. You have to intercept the network traffic from the valid username, and it gives you enough information back in the intercepted network traffic to crack a password offline, and then you can like, get legitimate access.
I
or
remember too,
get authenticated access.
For a lot of those readouts, when they had SNMP, almost always it was some third party. It was never the company or the organization themselves. It was their.
So I'm like, what vendor is doing that?
Just like leaving that out there for them.
Because I feel like those, it's like, it's not really a matter of it's not really like using like a difficult username is just a matter of time, even if it's like 128 characters. I don't even know if they can support that many on the like authentication side on SNMP, but it's like it seems like it would just be a matter of time. Although, you know, what do you really get once you get SNMP? You know, so
Yeah, you might be able to dump some information, reconfigure it, take it offline.
yeah,
Some things like that. But yeah, I don't remember anything really unique that popped out. I mean, the things that ended up being the most surprising were organizations that had like SMB exposed to the internet. You know what I mean? Just like
yeah, that was really
a
interesting.
few like that. I don't even think we had anything like RDP, like remote desktop exposed.
No.
A lot of
A lot of people are going through
really locked
the
down.
VPN now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was always good to see, though. Like for us, it's always a matter of how do we then still show value in this? Obviously, they're
sure.
checking a box for that. But then what can we do extra or on top of this, since that external exposure is so small? You know, what's still leading to these compromises and breaches? It's obviously not getting in through the perimeter necessarily through
No.
systems and services. So
No.
likely it's like third party
Yep.
compromises,
Supply chain
supply chain.
for sure. And
social
phishing.
engineering.
Yeah, that's just a classic. It's always gonna hit, you know.
And that's what typically drives when we have some of those conversations with customers is they're like, we don't feel like we need to test our external.
Yeah.
And I would say 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't believe that.
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to get to the point where, honestly, for the most part, like they may not really have to. They have to keep inventory, but like a full-fledged pen test may not be as necessary.
I don't think it's worth it to put a consultant on external, like, yeah, really maybe not at all. I think like attack surface management, patch management,
Yeah.
that kind of thing is like necessary. Like it's some sort of like continuous assessment is necessary, but it's also highly automatable.
Yeah.
And I think like at the most you would need like a human in the loop. Put my AI buzzword out there. You would need a human in the loop to validate or like remove like false positives. You know, so yeah, I think that like actually that is kind of like the future of network testing in general. It's very programmatic. I think like, you know, trying to automate like the DAST side of things, like Burp Suite, is a little bit more difficult, just because like the breadth and like the amount of fuzzing especially is you know, makes it a little harder. But I think network tests in general are very can be reduced to a configuration audit and return return similar value, but do it much more quickly. Like I think I don't know. I just also think that like like the sort of like continuous like PTAS, like pen test as a service approach, is going to be really really helpful in terms of alleviating like the workload involved with pen testing. Because if you're able to kind of like, if you're able to implement a solution that tracks changes across the network, in terms of like, you know, like your Active Directory, like your GPO or something, if you can just like monitor that and get more of a like a continuous, like a longitudinal look, I think it's like going to be way easier to stop attack chains before they develop.
Sure.
You know, because you're catching insecure configuration as it evolves and not like waiting over a whole year, you know. Yeah, especially like because even, you know, like this Q4, even on like the smallest external like network assessment that we did, like I would go read out to the client and they'd be like, you know, I'd be like, oh, like your email security records on the DNS are like missing or misconfigured. And they'd be like, oh, it doesn't matter because by the end of next quarter, this domain is going to be sunset anyway. So it's like, you know, in order for us to really stay on top of their security posture, like you have two options. You either hope that they have the pocketbooks to book you after the infrastructure change, right? And then like realistically, like given like the scope of this like small client, like is that worth their time? Because like we already know what the findings are likely going to be on the rest of the unchanged infrastructure.
Sure.
Right? Or you just have some sort of like, again, like continuous monitoring. It can just ping us, you know? But then you run into like, I don't know how effective that would be on the, oh, hello. I don't know how effective that would be on the, sorry, someone just walked in. I don't know how effective that would be on the internal side, because then you run into the CrowdStrike problem.
I think it'd be less useful on the internal side. There's still value there.
Yeah.
But I really do agree with you that the external testing side should really pivot to just a continuous monitoring, because almost everything that we're finding now on those externals is generally configuration. Patch. I mean, that's...
Yeah. And a lot of the vulnerabilities are post-authentication.
Yeah, there's that.
You know, like I wrote up a lot of like, oh, like we like dug through the code of this website, found that this was outdated, but all the vulnerabilities are post-authentication. We didn't make initial access into like the back end of the web app. It's like if you have the timeline to, you know, phish the client and like gain that foothold, then you can generate a proof of concept. But it's like, is it even like, it's fun to do that, but is it really worth the time?
Yeah.
You know, and this is why I like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of operational overhead involved in like traditional like red teaming pen testing. I think that like there are very few times when an organization truly needs a red team.
Sure.
And is like, we need to know about 0 days, you know?
Now, I will say with these externals and stuff, this is more likely to be the case with small to medium sized businesses. I still think the huge Fortune 500, things like that, they have global presence. Like their externals are going to be very different. But
their attack surface gets tested in chunks, right?
Well, right, sure.
Like,
but that's what I'm saying for like a lot of these organizations that may have to do a pen test as part of a compliance audit or as part of ongoing security requirements, to look into something like continuous monitoring and evaluation instead of the pen test, because normally the specifications will say one or the other is good. So to have somebody with, say, offensive experience doing some of that monitoring and review, we can provide a lot of practical recommendations, because I mean, the scanners, some of those automated things will often say like, hey, this is, medium or high or critical or something like that. And it's like the real practical impact is so small that it's almost like they should fix it eventually, but like not lose sleep over it.
Yeah. You need to like be able to ingest the context and readjust. But I don't think that's the job of the tool either. Like,
I agree. I agree. That's I think that's where the person comes in to review and evaluate that. But yeah, on the internal side, I still think that there's some amount of variation that just monitoring or something just automated isn't quite enough. Only because you typically have so many users that are just on that network.
That's true. Yeah, it's sprawling.
Yeah, and they're going to have those
one
edge cases.
One look at a bloodhound graph.
Exactly.
And you're like,
it's always been like the go-to for that. So yeah, I really think that external monitoring and then internal assume breach and lateral movement, those types of things are super beneficial. With that work on the defensive side to be like, what did you catch? What did you not catch? How can we improve on this? Because they're going to have their CrowdStrike, they're going to have their, other EDRs, whatever. And then this is what we talked with Cody about 2 months ago. Just like, are they actually working the way that they should? Where are those gaps at?
Yeah, the set and forget problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see, what else do we do? That reminds me of some other stuff when we're talking about doing tests, performing engagements with organizations. There's a lot of questions that we get. I know one that I always harp about, but there's always a few that kind of repeat, and I'd like to cover just a few of those, just for maybe just if it gets out there, more people understand it before they come and
just for I just got asked a lot of questions this Q4, so I feel prepared for this.
More on the planning and setup and that side of things. So first is always when we're sitting there and we're scoping out, we're talking about what makes sense for them, where we should scope, what we should target, and what information they should provide. The biggest question is, why should I give you any information?
Oh, yeah.
Because
this is really fun.
It will make this not a realistic test.
Yeah.
By far, most frequent question. And we've never, well, I won't say never, 90% of the time, we get them to accept our answer for it, and just like start being more collaborative, which is
what you need to do.
And so the answer that I always give is these: if you really want something practical and you want something realistic, it's time for us to gather that same information, to see how we can leverage that against an organization. So if they really want it to be practical and they have the budget, we'll sit there and do it, but we have to extend time frames for engagements by 3-4 times. You know what I mean? Just to do it. They never run. They don't. Why pay for that? It doesn't make any sense.
That's what.
So if it's just like, hey, we're going to base off of this information that we could collect, and then we're starting from that point, and we're skipping all of this initial work to then go into, let's see how we can leverage it against you. That's way more useful for the organization.
Yeah, I agree.
Way less expensive for them. And for us, it eliminates a lot of the boring stuff of just like gathering, some specific information.
Programmatically scraping the internet for shit.
And so when you talk to it mainly from the budget perspective, they're almost always on board. They're like, oh, well, yeah, if we're going to save money or it's going to take less time, sure, we'll do that. But that's the most that I always get.
Yeah, I always take the same angle of like cut the bullshit, where it's just like, I was like, especially, I'll tell them like, look, like we have like 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever the time frame is, we only have this much time to do it. Would you rather we like, why would you pay us to learn things that you can just tell us now? And we can cut to the real, like, meat and potatoes of this assessment. Like, you're gonna get more findings if you don't, and if you don't like waste our time and then like by extension your money. It's like, if like, even if it's like giving us like lists of usernames, like anything that they want to provide is really helpful, because it's like I have to spend time just like coming up with that, and it's like so annoying. And then like sometimes like I don't have a valid angle for user enumeration, so I'm literally just guessing, like hundreds, thousands of like permutations.
You could get it answered in one question.
When I could just be like, do you have a user list? Okay, done, I'll use this.
Or what's the format?
Because I think a big answer that I give them is like, we have time period, threat actors do not. And like, if you want this to be realistic, then you need to assume that we are at the point of like where a threat actor would feel prepared to actually attack your org, right? And that means that like they have done potentially months of like enumeration and OSINT and stuff like that to like figure out what they want to target, how they want to attack it. We do not have that time, right? We're not lurking around, actually trying to sell your data for money. So what are like, how do we boost ourselves to that point so that you can actually see what would happen if we were at that level of preparation? A similar one to this that I also always get is, should we tell our MSP, SOC, ER provider that a pen test is occurring?
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell them that there's like, well, what do I always tell them? I always tell them, what are you trying to get out of it?
That's what I was just going to say. What are their objectives? Are their objectives to actually evaluate what they can see without foreknowledge of something coming?
Yeah.
Or is it to work with them to be like, okay, this is coming. Let's make sure that we're ready to actively try and identify and collect these things, because we know that during this time period there's going to be malicious traffic.
And what people, what clients generally arrive at is like, we will tell our monitoring outlet, we'll tell them that it's happening, so simply so that when we get alerts, you know, the SOC isn't getting woken up at like 3 a.m, you know, the CISO isn't getting a phone call or whatever. But to not deactivate anything. And then what I have done is, and it's a little more work for me, but barely. What I have done is, I'm like, okay, so what we can do is tell your monitoring providers that a pen test is happening. You don't have to tell them the scope or whatever. Tell them to continue pushing you alerts as per usual. But don't take like emergency, you know, don't open the fucking red binder, essentially. And then what I will do as a pen tester is I will reach out to you at the end of every day of the engagement and be like, this is exactly what I did today. And then what that lets the client do is they look at my, you know, documentation that I send over every day, and they go, okay, like today he like obliterated the domain controller with username requests, and our EDR did not pick up that, right? And that really helps them tune. They can identify exactly a point in time when something occurred, go into, you know, their logs, alerts, whatever, and be like, did we catch this or not? And that allows them to, like, the set and forget issue with a lot of that, like, a lot of those like hardware or like endpoint management solutions are like, you know, you put the CrowdStrike box on the rack, press the button, and it just like is good. Or like OpenBOS does that, but like, you know, but nobody's configuring it. And that seems to really pay dividends for the org. On that side. There was something else I wanted to talk about related to that.
While you're thinking on that, that reminds me of going back to the last topic relating to like ongoing testing, is instead of having just that point in time, if you're working with an organization like ours or whatever, where they can do that continuous monitoring, you can run a threat model, something like that, a username enumeration, something like that. Hey, we didn't catch it. Let's tune things. Now we're not waiting a year to see if we caught it because we don't have that traffic. But now we can re-engage and be like, hey, let's run that again. See if our changes have now resulted in us being able to pick that up. And then, you know, you can work over the span of a year or whatever to now identify those threats, actually get the evaluation, feedback, implementation, and just kind of cycle through it in a way that actually improves security versus, hey, we did this a point in time. We're going to try and fix all this eventually. Are we any better off? And it's like, we won't know until next year. You know what I mean? So by having that on, you know, that ongoing relationship with us, it's not like we're going to be testing 24/7, 365. But we're going to have it available to try something out, try, a specific threat, run a scan, do whatever,
Yeah.
and see how it affects them, and then what they can do to it.
I had a couple of things like that during readouts actually, where I was like, here's a finding that we came up with, and they were either like, we're in the process of taking this down. This is existing finding from last year we knew about that we're in the process of remediating, and like on the readout calls have like checked again, like opened up the terminal and like, pulled down some sort of information just to validate that what they're doing is working. And like sometimes I'll like come out of a readout and be like, okay, well, we need to mark this finding as remediated, because it's just like it gets handled on the call.
Yeah.
And that's very fun. That's very rewarding to like see and do, because it's like an immediate fix to like light issues,
Sure.
but like I don't know, it's just a quick hit. Like I'm a change maker. Yeah.
Get that little rush. The other one that I wanted, because I know you get this one all the time when we're on those scoping calls and those kickoffs, especially for network tests.
Okay.
How, is this going to bring anything down? How's it going to affect our operations?
God, I hope so. Sorry.
No,
I don't.
Things.
No, I don't.
Are we going to, have incidents while you're actually trying to do this exploitation?
Yeah, we could have an incident.
It's certainly possible.
I never have.
You haven't. You've been very lucky. You've been very lucky.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, like the biggest thing, right, is like you get a lot of like potential denial of service vulnerabilities, and it's like, okay, just like don't validate them, don't try to validate them. Make note of them.
Right.
Bring them up to the client. If you have good reason to believe that they're immediately exploitable, like you can ping them. Just don't validate a denial of service attack. Then you don't bring down their infrastructure. Which, like, you can go either way on that one. I don't think it's like, yeah, there's certainly a line. I think that, penetration tests should not be destructive or like interrupt business operations, especially because like we have a lot of clients where like downtime results almost instantly in lost money. It's like there's no point if you can identify all of the like precursors or symptoms. Like, sorry, that's probably unrelated life update. I have a girlfriend now, and she texts me. That's cool. But just a flex, real flex, just quick flex.
Put that out on the internet.
You can work in computer security and meet women. It's possible. What was I talking about? Sorry.
Bringing things down,
Don't break shit on a pen test. We like to break shit, but like don't break shit in a way that results in computers going down. It's very easy to not break shit if you don't want to, Yeah,
it's generally just a exercise in what you're doing.
Exactly.
Potential impacts that'll have, and then making a decision with the customer's input on, hey, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the outcomes that we're looking at. Should we go this route? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Really like, What does it gain them by exploiting this or potentially bringing something down? Something of value? Maybe.
Yeah.
Or they can note it, fix it.
The other thing that I really see on networks as like, aside from denial of service, the only other thing that really results in service interruption is like when they want like a password spray, but they don't give us the password policy that they're using. And so like you run the risk of like triggering lockouts.
Yeah.
So like when I run password sprays, like I'll set a threshold and in the morning it'll like da. And if accounts start getting locked out, you back it way off. Right? So it's doing like each account is getting hit maybe once every like 4 hours or something, like super slow. And then if it continues to lock out at any rate, you just bring it down. Because it's like, realistically, I didn't get a single hit on a password spray this Q4. Like, I think, you know, I think people might be getting a little wise to that. And, you know, it's easier on the internal side because the rate can be a little quicker, especially on like the enumeration side, because you can just kind of like, you know, but yeah, I don't think I got a hit on a external password spray all Q4, which was like kind of annoying because like usually that's like a very quick and easy way to get in. But
I remember that last year we had several that
yeah,
came through.
and almost always on an internal you get it. I think because there's more like kind of like whatever accounts, you know, like service accounts and shit that are just kind of like bleh. And they're like, oh, we can just set a default password for this computer in the lobby, and you get in and you find a way to like, you know, finagle it into a little more access than what they thought they were giving it. But yeah, on the external especially. But you still trigger lockouts with those attempts. And it's, you know, it can be a problem. So, but I generally just try to, you know, you try to coax that out on the kickoff call. You know, you can be like, oh, like I'm looking through your RFI, and it's like, you know, you didn't give us any sort of like password policy. Do you have a lockout threshold? You know, do you have a character min? Do you have character requirements? You know, if they say no to any of that, you just start the report right there. But like, yeah, typically they're willing to just like look that up and give it to you. And if not, you got to play it by ear a little bit. But the thing that really worries me is when they're like, oh, like, you know, we have like, I had one client that was like, we don't have a lockout threshold because, or they were like, we have a lockout threshold, and when you hit a lockout, it automatically sends a ticket to IT. And so I was like, okay, well, like, you know, uh, do we want to, like, how do we want to go about this? And so inevitably what ended up happening was it was just like an incredibly conservative spray, because I was like, if I trigger a lockout and someone gets locked out and then IT's not there and then they lose a whole, like, even if they lose like a half day of work, it's like a whole thing. And that's not what I want to do, especially when it's like, you know, a threat actor is realistically going to enumerate the usernames and then go start phishing. You know, they're not going to start spraying passwords in 2026.
Sure.
You know, just because that's kind of what you have a little more success with. I feel, you know. Okay, rant over. What else? What else do we?
There was something that came to mind while you were going through that about some of the tests that I ended up doing for Q4 on the app side. And it only stuck out to me because there was 3 or 4 that came up that were essentially the same in their structure. It was all from Latin American organizations.
Okay.
Specifically Mexico.
Okay.
And there's new requirements, I guess,
in the country
where the government has to have access into certain types of companies.
Okay.
And need to make access available for monitoring evaluation.
Oh, interesting.
So
anytime that the government has requested mandatory access to any sort of hardware and network equipment, it has always played out very well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we ended up doing is and sometimes
NSA key?
These were like internal applications.
Yeah.
But they had to make them externally accessible for the government to be able to access them.
Yeah, of course. That's a very good thing to
So I was getting hit up to be like, okay, let's do a web app test because this is an app. And what it ended up being is it's remote desktop in a browser.
Fuck yeah.
That goes into the desktop. And
cool.
What they then tried to do is lock down the system.
Oh, yeah.
In like a kiosk mode.
That's good. Yes. Yes. It is very easy actually to control permissions within a Windows environment. Okay.
However, what I ended up doing, so the goal was first like, okay, this is no longer really a web app test because we're testing just this RDP wrapper.
Yeah.
Interesting. So now that we're on a system and we're interacting with an application running on a desktop.
Yeah.
can we bypass any of that stuff?
Noinky splanky.
Not
Yeah.
having
This
fun with it.
is this the sandbox escape? Like, I don't
It
even.
was, yeah, exactly that. And yeah, I had fun with that because they had it completely locked down, no start menu, no icons,
Oh, cool.
nothing on there, just
How-
the amp that launched.
Oh, okay.
Right, that was it. But the app had to use some OS level functions, libraries, those types of things. So
Yeah.
the bypass always ended up being anytime that you needed to import a config or something like that, it would open up your Windows OS
File Explorer. Cool.
which you can get around, where you're able to
You could get around the
open files.
directories. Yeah.
Right, so you could identify directories. You can't really do much.
No.
So it's like, okay, that's something, but it's not really that interesting.
Yeah.
But then inside of that, there's always the, hey, I want to get more information, the question mark in the top
Oh, yeah.
right
The help yeah.
contact. You click that and it opens up Edge with all your help information.
Okay.
So now I have a browser running inside the system.
Yeah. God, that's funny.
With that. And then I use that to go into the file system.
Didn't that used to be on wasn't that documentation all just like kind of like shipped with the OS on like XP and Vista? Did that
something like that? Yeah,
did that
I
reach
don't
out
remember.
because I remember hitting help on XP and it was just pull up like essentially like a markdown file.
It was, yeah.
You could like
basically
click around. They just all the manuals shipped on the box.
Yep.
You didn't.
But it opens up in a browser, so that's like, oh,
Yeah,
if you put in
because it's
there,
all-
you can just put in, C:/ whatever.
Mhm.
So I go C:/ command.e or system32,
Oh,
and then I could download a file. So I couldn't run anything from that because I
Yeah.
could only run the browser. But
yeah.
I could download any arbitrary file.
Okay.
This is like the most convoluted thing.
Sure.
So I downloaded just a random file to the desktop. It didn't do anything.
Okay.
But
So you can click on the desktop
I
if
could
you
click on the desktop if
okay.
there's something.
Did you make a shortcut? No, you can't make a shortcut.
No, but what I end up doing, so in the browser, once you download it,
Yeah.
it gives you the little file that says, hey, open up this into File Explorer.
Uh-huh.
So now I had an actual File Explorer where I could go into anything and run any application. So I could run like the command prompt.
So you would open File Explorer that way, and then you could just go to cmd.exe, double click on it, you get a terminal.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
So that was like that whole change. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, import to file help to browser to download and then they're like, oh yeah, that's like,
Of course, that would be it.
so we'll just
Yeah.
give this to the government, and now we're hoping that it's locked down. So
Yeah, interesting. How do you write that up? Like, what are the findings there?
it was just like a custom attack chain, really. It wasn't
Yeah.
like a specific vulnerability. It was just like,
thing. Yeah.
here's the bypass from
Parentheses high.
application.
Yeah.
So there's like 3 that ended up being like that. Yeah.
Oh, just
Right,
ways
fun
to get
ways.
to terminal from
Yeah.
that's cool.
But they were all Mexican organizations that had these internal financial apps or whatever that had to make this accessible. And they're like,
And-
we don't want to give any more permissions than we have to.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what we want to do.
And so that's really interesting. So once you got to the terminal, are you then you're just on the internal network?
Yep.
And like the box is domain joined and everything, right?
In one case it was, in one case it wasn't. Yeah. So in one case it was just by itself, which is great because there's very limited stuff you could do.
Yeah.
Another one had different network shares, so you're able to do that,
Okay,
or at
that's
least look in the network
that's a
and then start
classic.
pivoting around.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that now becomes like an internal lateral movement.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
sense.
And so it originated from being able to upload like an art, just any file.
It was just
really.
using the application. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
anything that
Because it
opened up
opens
the
the File Explorer.
anything that like imported.
You save to
things.
desktop, right click, open in File Explorer. So why did the first File Explorer have
because it was
limited permission?
because it was within the app, and it's like, hey, open up like a config file or something like that. It
Oh,
wasn't- you
so
know
it's
what I mean?
within the web app.
So
It's not
within
like
the
it opens.
desktop app.
It's not like it opens. So you're on the web app and you need to upload a file. You click upload. Does it open File Explorer in a separate? No. So it's like
it opens up similar to File Explorer, but not a full file. It opens up a similar one that you could just import
Yeah.
a file. Or
okay, but
export
it's
a
not
file.
the program that's opening is not File Explorer.
No.
Okay.
I'll have to
So-
figure out what it was. It
And-
looks similar, but you couldn't just go
It
through
was just like yeah.
anything that you double clicked on or that you import or that you selected
Mhm.
would then try to be opened by the app and not just opened in the
I see.
context of the
I see.
OS.
Okay, but it's not like cPanel where it's like the dir structure is in the web app. It was a separate window.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, and then so you had to get into original File Explorer, and then you just can like double because that's what I was like thinking
Yeah.
about. Is like if you're opening up file explorer on the first upload. Like, why don't you just go in and like
Right.
navigate around?
Yeah, no, couldn't do it. So
Interesting.
it was this convoluted thing. And then
That's really fun.
mapping out how many areas within that application they had that available.
Yeah.
It just ended up being like, a dozen. Like they had to re-architect all this stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like it's like
huge.
a pretty game breaking glitch you got there.
So that was a fun one from Q4, just doing that.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't think there was I can't think of anything else particularly of note there that was as interesting as that one.
I got a lot of XSS.
You did. You see, this is where it was interesting. The most memorable ones for me were when I was doing an app test and ended up doing network recon and move.
Yeah.
And for you, the most interesting stuff was I'm doing a network test and now I have all these
And now I'm
web apps
doing web app. Yeah.
scripting.
Yeah. But it's really interesting how many people will take integrated, like, not integrated. People will take like functionality from a library and then like wrap their own code around it and just be like, and then ship it. I don't know. Because that's where like, that's where pretty much all my cross-site came from this Q4 was just like people like handwriting their own JS around like some sort of like copy paste. Like I got one where like there was some HubSpot tracking thing. And on the HubSpot website, they're like, copy this, paste it into your code.
Oh, yeah.
That's all you need to do. But then they wanted, like, the client wanted to do some extra, like, logging or something with the, like, around that. And so they pasted the code in and then, like, threw a couple lines of JavaScript around it. And now you can just, like, escape the URL on any, like you could just put in an arbitrary URL. It would go to 404 and like if you had the if your arbitrary page that you requested just had like a single apostrophe in it, you all of a sudden escaped part of the 404 page that was sending that URL. So it would take your URL, append it, send it out for tracking, and then it did some extra parsing on the other side, and you could just escape and execute. It was like super easy, which is why a network tester was able to do. But it was like, yeah, I pretty much all the cross-site that I got this Q4 was like people, doing that, just like taking a library and then like doing it live, wanting to add like a tweak here or a tweak there, handwriting it and shipping it and being like, oh, it's fine. And then it's not fine. It's like not sanitizing anything. That was probably the most interesting like group of like outliers that I got this Q4. Aside from SNMP, because I was like, why is everyone using this? Like, why can't you just use SSH?
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Because I feel like it's easy to orchestrate like SSH at scale. But what do I know?
We're at the network architects here.
Maybe. You'd think I'd know a little bit about it.
Drinking out of your, well, it's not a vase. It's a, what is it?
This is an amphora.
Amphora.
Yes, I made it out of glass. And I am drinking an undisclosed sports recovery beverage that has yet to sponsor Maltech Solutions, and so I will not name them, mixed with tap water from the office, because this is a half-gallon and also sometimes the flavor of said undisclosed sports recovery beverage that has yet to sponsor us is too strong. But I quite like it. I don't like to, I've always been like a big water bottle kind of guy. Until recently. Actually, that's not true, because now I have the amphora. Hashtag amphora life. That's a good one, right, Cal?
Yeah, that ties in with the business.
That does tie in with the business.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So that's really what we got.
I made this with my girlfriend, the girlfriend that I have, who's very real, and texts me, by the way.
Well,
I've had a fun Q4.
Yeah. it's good. It's
I
good
feel
to
like
get
this-
out of the office.
I feel like this Q4 has been good.
I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Until you go away again, and I'm looking forward to this year. See what we get to do, what's new, what changes. There's always something. So
True.
appreciate you coming up, and
Are we wrapping up?
yeah, we're at time.
Are we? Damn.
It's arbitrary.
But we
but
started a little late.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
we got more work to get back to.
That's fine. We do actually. I feel like this is the Q1. We actually have like quite a bit booked out, which is good. It's going in the right direction, you know.
Always good.
Yeah.
Always work, please.
Cool. Yeah.